Shadowrun classes.
Yeah, when we last left, I had accepted a. When we went offline, I had accepted a challenge to describe everyone in the room's Shadowrun class. And if you're not familiar, Shadowrun is a pen and paper role-playing game from the early 90s. It was cyberpunk mixed with urban fantasy, basically, and was noted for really bringing out the worst in its players. So, you want to see some real dirtbag behavior from your players? Dust off the Shadowrun books and about 400 die sixes. Anyway, I had said that Beej. Oh wait, Graham.
I'm actually just saying goodbye.
Oh.
Because it's 1:15.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm gonna go and sleep, and then hang out with Penelope tomorrow and be back for night watch tomorrow evening at 6. So I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Now we're back online. I didn't realize we were off.
Ah!
Oh.
Oh yeah, no.
It's fine.
Exploded
Don't
your
worry
hand
about
out
it.
We have a hard screwed floop.
It's fine now, though.
I'm sorry. Do you think you'll ever recover?
I'll tell my wife.
Okay.
The scroobs became unflooped, and then we flooped them double.
But it's not contagious, so don't worry.
Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone heard Beej's class, but I decided that Beej was going to be a very good street samurai because I think he would look good with either like the mirror shades,
Yeah.
or like the chromed over eyes, or maybe like the Bato eye cups.
I like that. I
Yeah.
would love to. If I had to live in a world like that, I'd like to have eyes like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to see that Photoshop.
I mean,
Maybe,
we don't have
yeah.
to do an art challenge, but feel free to do it, guys.
And like, I would say Beej would be a human, although I could see arguments for being like the solid, dependable dwarven type.
Yeah, or like a half human, half dwarf, maybe.
Yeah, or orc. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
think human. Probably human.
Yeah.
Matthews,
Me.
we only met a couple of days ago, but you strike me as a. Again, I'm going to go with human here, and say. I'm gonna say mage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there were two kinds of there are three kinds of magic users in Shadowrun, but generally they fit into either mages, who followed the Hermetic tradition, and had a much more rigorous understanding of their spells, and then shamans who had a totem, and the conceit. They were mechanically very similar, but the idea was that shamans were constantly making pacts with things. Max? Dude, you're already a Shadowrun character. I mean, you sell it. So I'm going to say Physad,
Oh wow.
because I know, or Physical Adept.
Yeah.
Physical Adepts were you had mages and shamans who both did magic, but the Physical Adepts turned it inwards, right? They were kind of like the monks.
I can dig it.
Yeah, and they tended to do more like martial arts, but also had they could use things like bows and swords and things. And I
can
know
use
that
a
you
bow.
do archery,
So that works out.
yeah.
Is it human as well, or
Elf.
Totally elf.
yeah?
Yeah, you look like
Correct.
you come from the tier. Andre.
Read my soul, Cameron.
Stare deep within.
Andre is our rigger.
Cool.
Andre, yeah. Andre runs the drones and is our wheelman. I don't know why I believe that, but I feel it.
That
deep in
feels
my
really
heart.
strongly, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's something that needs to get done and done well, and it will get done.
Yeah. Yeah, also, it is something that will get done while everyone else is off doing something else. And happens largely unappreciated.
Does that also make Andre the wheelman?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Deckers, who are the hacker types, had their data jacks up here near the forebrain, because they were doing higher brain function stuff, whereas riggers had their data jacks down at the base of the spine, or no, sorry, at the base of the skull, because they needed to have really fast reflexes.
Yep.
Cool.
And you, again, I see being... You gotta be an orc, my dude.
Yeah.
I see orc, yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite bits in Dunkel's End's Will was that the great dragon bequeathed unto the Orcish people a gift from a previous world, which was a lexicon of Orc language.
Nice.
Yeah, he said the elves were not the only people to have their own language.
I see you touch my car. I'm going to tear you in half.
Juliana.
Here?
Choose carefully.
Yes, choose wisely.
So face.
She knows where you sleep.
Very afraid. What frightened me in Shadowrun? What were the things that frightened me in Shadowrun? Are you the Johnson?
Ooh.
The Mr. Johnson?
Herr Schmidt.
Yeah.
My gym teacher?
You were the point of contact, whoever was giving out the job.
Okay.
She holds
Actually,
the
in a
power
way,
in
yeah,
one
that
hand.
kind of that, because, and maybe I'm going places I shouldn't, I don't know, but your very sweet demeanor definitely would underlie a very vicious job, and no one would ever suspect you of being the kind of person who hands stuff out like that.
Hmm.
I will take it.
You get to live
Alright.
another day.
Thank you. What race am I, though?
Elf? Elf?
Did you assign yourself?
I did. Well, I mean, I had the most fun playing a
Right.
moon shaman,
Right.
but kind of want to try decking.
All right. Yeah.
Though I don't know. Maybe I would be one of the bystanders, or like a security guard who just gets geeked by the Shadowrunners on the way past.
No.
Yep.
You are the researcher in the large corporation
Oh,
that they're
I'm the
going to.
extraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, we have to go get the scientist so we can, get his research into a new corporation.
And you're like,
That's
this is
you.
the sixth
Yeah.
time this month.
Yeah, you just have a
Like-
bag constantly packed, just ready to go.
There was like one Shadowrun novel where I think like they had extracted a scientist from one place, and they were working on they had hired like these surgeons in a mobile trailer, like a mobile surgery trailer, and they were working to get his implant out. And one of the surgeons comes out after a little while and explains to the main character that it's not working. We're not sure he's going to make it. And the character's like, well, go in and work on him for a little while. Watch the surgeon get in the trailer. Pulls out the rocket launcher. Freem! Right, like fries the entire operation and then has to walk away.
So you're the job.
Yeah, I'm the job.
You're the MacGuffin.
How much are we being paid to extract cameras?
A whole 100 new yen.
No.
Oh, no, ass.
No.
Yeah, pass.
And then Kelly. You kind of do everything. Shadowrunners don't generally have a team medic. That usually falls onto like one or two spells that the magic user has.
Right.
That they long-sufferingly have to just put up with.
Yeah, that they needed to spend their points on getting like stabilize and heal.
Because
when
their
they could've-
team's an idiot.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm seeing actually one of the hybrid magic users who has just a little bit of cyberware.
Yeah.
The important stuff. A little bit lower essence, but a lot more functionality. And human. I see you as being human. Or maybe a dwarf.
Probably, I could see a dwarf.
Yeah. Again, solid, dependable. All right, so I'm going to mark that challenge as completed.
Nice.
Is engineering just a cabal of deckers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Deckers
Oh, yeah.
for hire. Yeah.
Yeah.
we are engineering are just wall-to-wall deckers.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of riggers.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Shadowrun is one of those things that where the colloquialism, none of us is as dumb as all of us, very much.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, yeah.
So much.
Like you take the IQ of the dumbest person in your group,
Yeah.
and then split it up amongst all the players,
Yeah.
right? Like,
You thought D&D could get weird. Wait till you're in a Shadowrun campaign.
Shadowrun's fun.
Oh, so fun, but
Until like one of the street samurai just like randomly murders a security guard, and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, I thought we were supposed to do like it's.
Yeah, I got hired to shoot people, so I shot people. Also, he had a better gun than I did, and now I have a better gun than he does.
Because he has no gun.
at some point there's some sort of goose drone thing that you got to deal with. It's just like, wait, okay, sure.
Yeah. Either that or this is like Renraku Arcology in that actually there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff.
There's no plans for Shadowrun Dice Friends at this time. There's no reason why we couldn't ever do it, of course, but that's like every other RPG system in existence. There's no reason why we wouldn't ever do something, maybe like Fatal, we will never actually touch, but yeah.
There's so many books you need.
Yeah.
Like like last time I played Shadowrun, it was 3rd edition,
Mhm.
and that was a big book,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And my favorite thing about Shadowrun was that it included rules for decking and rules for rigging and rules for magic.
Right.
And then you would go and buy the rigger book, right? And
Right.
expect expanded rules and maybe new vehicles and new drones and new cyberware. And instead of that, what it had was the actual rules for rigging in it.
Oh!
They were like, you may have noticed that the rules we included in the main rule book don't work and don't make any sense. And I was like, okay, they did seem a little sparse. And it's like, good. Tear those pages out, forget they exist. And it's like, these books came out 3 weeks apart. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
One team was just sitting there going, yep, what did they write? Oh, well, okay.
There-
Yeah. I'm also not convinced Shadowrun would be a good Dice Friends experience.
Yeah.
Just because having 3 people, when we're on stream, all the players, except for the decker, can't leave. Well, the decker does the decking.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, Shadowrun was characterized by having, you would think rigger, decker, street samurai, mage, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of like your party,
Right.
except none of those people need to be in the same room at any of the same times because they're all
Yeah.
doing wildly different jobs
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
different places. And while the rigger is doing like a car chase, all the other players are in the back of the van going, and all the players are on their phones
Yeah.
What?
ordering a pizza.
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, that's something that like Dusk City Outlaws kind of helps smooth out a little bit, where it's like, we're going to just abstract a lot of that away by saying, what are you doing during this period of time? Well, I'm doing this and doing that. How do you want to make that happen? Okay, well, we're only going to act this out over the course of the next 5 minutes, and then when that's done, somebody else, maybe they're paired up with somebody else and they do a thing, like we're going to kind of ease out a lot of that, so you don't have to sit here rolling dice for the next 25 minutes.
Probably hack out a Dust City Laws rules port of Shadowrun.
That'd be an interesting
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, I'm completely unfamiliar with the new Shadowrun rules, and maybe
Played it. It's a lot, and I have some very strong words for whoever put that book together.
No,
but I do
that's
kind of
fair.
like it anyways.
Shadowrun had a great setting and a lot of problems that struck me as being very hard to solve.
But they also solved a lot of the straightforward problems just very badly.
I mean-
Like, there are some equations in there that are this thing plus half of this
Oh.
thing, divide the whole thing divided by 3.
Grenades!
Grenades.
Grenades.
Solve everything.
Grenades!
Okay, did you ever? Okay,
Why?
I remember having a spell lock, which
The
was
chunky salsa rule.
which was a magical device that you could have. That when you cast a spell, you activated the spell lock, and if it was a sustained spell, like that you would normally have to like focus on to sustain it, you could just use the spell lock, and the spell lock would sustain it.
Mm.
And what you did was you combined a grenade with a spell lock for locking on a force wall,
Oh no.
and then you beamed it off somebody's head
My brain.
and put up like a cylindrical force wall around the grenade.
Yep.
And because grenades, they had a blast radius, but if they were in too small a space for the blast radius, then you just folded the blast radius in on itself
So-
again.
Oh,
To compound the
no.
damage.
Chunky salsa rule.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Wow.
And it was
They also have the bouncing off walls rule, right?
yeah, it was like
Oh.
old AD&D fireballs, right?
Yep.
Where you could clear out an entire goblin warren with a
Yeah.
single fireball because it was like, well, it affects 50 squares.
Yeah.
So
But
if you
the
have a
hallways-
long corridor, then it would just like,
Yep.
and there's just arms flying, right?
One like one shot that I think would be fun to see on the stream, but I'm not quite sure how it will be done, is a system called 10 Candles.
I've heard really good things.
I've played it.
I've ran it before, and I really love it. It's a lot of fun. But it plays with the concept of visual light and how dark the visual space is toned to how the dark in the setting of the game itself.
Right.
Because when you start the game, it has 3 premises. The first is that 10 days ago the sun betrayed you. It didn't rise in the morning. There are no lights in the sky. There's no satellite contact. There's no nothing. 5 days ago, they came. There's only 2 things are known about them. They hate the light, and more than they hate the light, they hate you and want to see you all dead. And that you tell your players at the beginning of the game, at the end of this game, your character will die.
Go on.
It is not a story about success.
Right.
It's a story about playing out your character's last moments of hope, and as the light around them fades. And your game mechanic is literally 10 candles that each scene you extinguish 1 candle, and then each player tells a truth about the world to advance the plot.
Okay.
And as candles go out, the game gets darker, and the GM's job is to make the story more dark, as like bringing in more and more difficult challenges. And it's a dice pool game where the dice pool that the players have are equal to the number of lit candles.
Ooh.
So eventually you get to a point where you can't roll successes because you don't have enough pips on dice to actually make it through a success.
You have to roll a 6, just 1 6 to get a success, and when a player succeeds, they narrate the success, and if they fail, the scene ends, the candle goes out, and the GM narrates the failure. There's a few other small mechanics. So, but as they lose dice, those dice go to the GM, who get to roll against the players, and if they succeed, but the GM succeeds with more successes, the GM narrates the success instead of the players. So it's very sort of cooperative storytelling all throughout as the game gets darker and darker and darker and darker.
How do you?
So my jam.
Yeah, it
Really,
sounds
It's
awesome.
a lot of.
What kind of candles are we talking about?
So
like
I
photos?
I
Like
use
tea lights?
like 3 to 4 hour tea lights.
Okay.
Because then the candles themselves are also a timer.
Right. Yeah.
So,
because there's an absolute.
As they're burning down,
Right.
the game will naturally come to a conclusion. And the best part about it is that your character sheet is 4 cards. You have a trait, a virtue. So it's your 1 virtue, 1 vice, which is basically a trait is something. A virtue is something that solves more problems than it creates, and a vice is the exact opposite. It's something that creates more problems than it solves.
Right.
Then you have a hope, and then you have a brink. And a brink is what happens when you've burned away through all of your other humanity. It's the last thing left, the dark side of you.
Right.
And as the game goes on, when you expend one of your traits, you literally light it on fire and burn it away.
Wow, this is my
we would
jam.
need to tape over the smoke alarms in the moon
Nope.
base.
So, fun fact: there's a way to burn a piece of paper flammably. If you corrugate it, fold it,
Oh.
and then you burn just the cross tips, and then stand it up. The air gets funneled straight down.
Yeah.
So what I do is I put just like a baking tray.
Yeah.
So there's a little air gap, and then a metal pan on top. Then you light all the top corners of the corrugated folds, stand upright, and right at the bottom of the paper, the metal gets very, very hot.
Yeah.
But there's an air gap so it doesn't damage your table.
Oh,
So
okay.
but it burns perfectly clean that way, and then you just get dry ash and no smoke.
When we played it, we were playing it in a hotel ballroom, and we just tore up the cards.
Also works.
So the idea is that burst of light that the characters see is a little bit of hope and a little bit of motivation of the light in the darkness.
Right.
Because the game is getting darker. And so burning that tray gives a burst of light, which is a small burst of hope as you are getting a benefit.
Right.
This game is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, that sounds wild.